1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions.
Oh, there we go. The crack of the bat. We are off and running. We're throwing it away today.
Throwing it away and lifting. Doing the heavy lifting.
We're doing the heavy lifting. That is what we're doing. It's Detroit City of Champions, the podcast. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Charles Avison.
Is that blowing on you?
Well, I don't care about it. It just sounds like I'm in a windstorm over here.
Okay, right on.
I don't know if that is hindering anybody else, but if you, the listener at home, can hear the wind blowing. Sounds like we're broadcasting live on the patio of our Southfield studios out in the middle of winter. The wind blowing.
You can feel it more than you could hear it, but
okay.
All right. But so moving through the stories, 1935, the trilogy of books, and we're into the other champions. Coming up on the show today, we're gonna revisit. We're gonna go back and take a look at Eddie Tolan again for a second. Because I found something that I thought was interesting.
I want to see what you're talking about because you were texting me about it. I didn't see because we got a whole other a whole other athlete to talk about. But
yes,
Jamie wants to revisit Eddie Tolan for a minute, and that's in this show we can do whatever we want
because it's our show.
It's our show,
and we can do what we want.
We can do whatever we want to do.
A little wine, a little whiskey, and just talk about Detroit in 1935. I can't tell you. I keep because I got my amazing jersey on.
Yeah,
and I wore this out. And I was down at the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Arts, and they have this gorgeous little Kresge court, and they serve beer and wine and cheese trays. And
I've seen a boxing match down there.
Sandwiches.
I've seen that place is awesome.
Yeah,
DIA.
And so I was there. A couple people were out having cocktails, and I wore the jersey, and people are asking, what is that? And I'm telling them, and it's like nobody knew the 35 story. Nobody.
That's what I'm saying.
It's always
that's what I'm saying. Anybody that has any doubt about just how forgotten it is, we are not overstating this whatsoever. Just go and ask the biggest Detroit sports fan you know, the easiest question, and not just Detroit sports history, but literally the easiest. It should be the easiest trivia question in all of sports to answer, which is, what year did the Tigers win their first World Series? What year did the Lions win their first NFL championship? What year did the Red Wings win their first Stanley Cup? You can't ask them, what year did the Tigers, Lions, Red Wings all win their first championships? You can't say you got to break it up.
Yeah.
Because if you just say it, if you're basically giving away the answer that it was all kind of in the same year or whatever, you got to break it up and just ask individually, what year did each of these teams win their first world championship?
Yep.
And then they're going to be like, I don't know, it was like 40-something?
Yeah.
You're like, no, it was the same
The Lions
season.
were good in the 50s, right?
You get that every time.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to say is if there's any
Tigers
doubt,
won that 84?
If there is any doubt whatsoever, and it's not an easy, and the strangest thing is it's not an easy subject to broach. Especially with diehard fans, a lot of people are wrapped up in their identity as it's like, I'm the biggest Detroit sports fan in the world. I have the biggest man cave. I have the most stuff. I go to the most games.
Yeah.
And
they don't
know the basic component, which is the foundational story.
Are so good. You got a quote in the front of your book. I was flipping through the books today, and you had a little a little quote. Don't you have a little in one of them?
Yeah, a little at the beginning.
What's that one right there?
Yeah, facts do not cease to exist simply because they are ignored. That's my intro quote.
Yeah, I love that.
Aldous Huxley.
And because who are we talking about today?
Clark Haskins, a weightlifter, weight thrower, he's a freaking beast.
Yeah, so Clark Haskins, and I was trying to find some information about Clark Haskins. Can't find it.
There's nothing.
You cannot.
No.
I was searching, but in my search, down the rabbit hole I went, and I came across a letter from Joe Louis to his fan club, thanking them for kicking off the fan club.
Oh, cool.
And then I found Eddie Tolan being interviewed about the 1936 Olympics, and this is in 1935. He's commenting, saying, and they were asking, should the athletes be going to the 36? And it's interesting, and so we'll read that little article come up. I thought that was interesting, and I thought,
I've never heard that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You learn stuff every day about.
And so, we'll go down that rabbit hole later. And because I was searching for stuff about this guy,
Clark Haskins, yeah.
And an interesting thing about him is he was a Detroit police officer.
Yes, that's what's really cool. Yeah, he's a Detroit police. We're going to revisit the Detroit police officers because they have the next week's show. They're also going to win some championships. I don't want to give it away.
Do we want to put Detroit police in context first, or do you want to tell me about?
Yeah,
Clark
I mean,
first.
we just go into Clark. I mean, there's.
All right, tell me about Clark, and then I'll give you the stuff that I came across.
No, or we can do the Eddie Tolan just to kind of connect it with the last shows or whatever. It's up to you.
Well, we'll go back.
All right, cool. Yeah, so we're dealing with Clark Haskins. We got some pictures of him to put up, but the pictures that you're going to see on your screen, if you're
watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you're listening to the audio one, you can always go to the video.
Yeah, it was right at the beginning of the YouTube. So, or you can go look in the books. You can go buy the books.
Yep, pull the books off your shelves because
all these pictures came right from the books. There's nothing else online that shows this guy's face or any of the stuff you're about to see.
Yeah.
A bunch.
I found a bunch of stuff on the line, but
you found stuff online, pictures of him?
No, not Clark.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. He is invisible online.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. So all the pictures come straight from the book, and all the photos from the book came from archives, newspapers, and just a process of collecting these things over the course of years. Especially when I got to Clark Haskins. I knew I'd found a couple things, but when I had his own little packet, and so I went to actually write his little story, his little summary. I was thrilled because I had some really good stuff on him. I mean, really the only stuff in print. This is the only place you're going to see it of pictures of Clark Haskins is in my book. In these books. So, and really the unfortunate thing is that even in his day there wasn't an absolute ton of information.
Right.
Like I don't have a ton of information about like his entire biography and life story and all this. So really I'm just going to read you. It's a very short quote that's, gives sort of a summary of what, at least his achievements and what he, why he was recognized. The photo that we have on the screen it's a great photo. And besides being on the screen here, besides it being in the books, it's also on the City of Champions newspaper.
Oh, okay.
Which like basically all the players that appear in the City of Champions newspaper, of course, are in the book. Mm-hmm. And so, but this picture on the City of Champions newspaper, and that, again, there's a difference between the City of Champions newspaper and the Champions Day newspaper. The Champions Day newspaper is one that was issued as on Champions Day itself. And then the City of Champions newspaper, that's what I call it because it actually says City of Champions on that's the City of Champions newspaper. And so that one came out the day after the party. And that was like an insert, and that was an insert. Like you would open that up, and that's what you would see.
And the people listening to the podcast, what the image is a 2-page spread
with 21 of the 33 championships.
21 of the 33.
And Joe Louis is not counted amongst those championships because he didn't win, as we remember. He did not win in 35. But on the newspaper they call him the uncrowned champion of boxing.
Yes.
So he was included despite the fact that he hadn't won his championship as of that moment.
So it's we haven't done the junior Red Wings either. I came across
the minor leaguers
today. The what were they called?
The Olympics.
The Olympics. Yeah, we haven't done the Olympics.
We talked about them. We talked about them, but we didn't go.
We didn't do their whole story.
No,
that's. See, there's so many. There's so many stories I'm excited to get into.
Yeah, there's just right off the top of my head. There's all these different.
I want to go back
Olympics
to those
players,
guys
which are studs and all. Absolutely, there's some great talent.
But today is Clark.
Yeah,
Clark Haskins.
Clark on this newspaper.
Officer Clark Haskins.
You can see it. Clark on the newspaper is actually right next to Dick Degener on the newspaper.
Yeah.
In the sort of like bottom right. He's not in the bottom right corner. He's just like above the bottom right corner.
And we're episode 90 here. Dick Degener. We talked about him in episode 89. If you want to go. Check those out. And that's a nice thing. We got playlists set up on the YouTube videos.
Good, yeah.
And then for the audio, you can just go back and through and see. They're all titled as to which team is the focus there, and they're usually clustered fairly well together.
Well, the great thing about the photo, if you want to slide that back over there, the great thing about the photo, like I said, I isolated it off of this newspaper and put it on the slide for this show.
Yeah.
So the great thing about it is if for those that can see it, and I'll describe it for those that can't.
Yeah.
He's holding this weight, this is like a bench press weight,
and it looks like it's got
or a squat bar. It's got a squat bar with a big old weight on either end.
It looks like it's two. It looks like he probably got like 100 pounds on each side. There's like two 50-pound or 75-pound plates on each side.
You're exactly right. These look like two of those, like I think they're 45-pound. I think that's what the standard is. But these are your solid 45-pound looking weights on either end of the bar. And he looks like he's about to javelin throw it.
Right.
That's the pose he's
holding
in.
it with one hand.
He's got it on his shoulder. And he's got one arm out to one side, and he looks like he's like, one more second after the photo's taken, that he's about to throw this thing.
Yeah,
it's a monstrous. That's what's so great about this picture. Look at him.
Yeah,
he's a beast. Yeah, this guy is like, he's okay. What do you want me to do with this now? Throw it. Yeah. Throw it. He's like, just like he's like talk about this is like this is the Samson of the City of Champions story. Mm-hmm. We've said before like. Who are you going to put up against the Tigers? Who are you going to put up against Joe Louis? Who, you're working your way all the way down the chain.
Who are you going to put against this guy?
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
We got a Samson-like figure. This guy is a beast, and he's a Detroit police officer. He's a beast, man.
He's there training in his Detroit police gear.
He's got his Detroit police gear on, and he's like, they're like, okay, Clark, pose for your City of Champions picture. And he's like, all right. He says that bar, he's not just like kind of posing, smiling into the picture or whatever. He's like, all right, this is how I want to be picked.
So what is because he's the national AAU weightlifting champion. What is the AAU?
56-pound weight. So AAU is a amateur association of what is it? AAU is you can actually look it up. It's still the same today, whatever that stands for. But it's a national championship. I believe it's an amateur association. I forgot what the U stands for. I always forget that part.
Okay.
But anyways, so he's not a weight lifter. I think he's a weightlifter too, but he's a weight thrower.
Right.
Like this guy throws weight. He does the caber toss, the Scottish thing where you throw that beam. Mm-hmm. The big log.
Yep.
He does the caber toss,
the hammer throw, which is pretty much a weight at the end of a chain.
Yeah. So this guy is a weight thrower.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. In his picture, he's holding up the dumbbell, the weight. It's not a dumbbell. This is a full-on squat bar with two 45-pound plates on either end. And he's like ready to throw it.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, this is what I did. Because it communicates that. He's like, what do you do, Clark? What's your sport? And he's like,
I lift really heavy things.
And I throw them. I lift and throw. So that picture, he's in the pose where he's like about to javelin throw this thing. So it's one of my favorite pictures on that newspaper because you're like, you see all the teams, you see everybody standing. Joe Louis is looking suave with his camel skin jacket over his shoulder. They're all, everybody's looking kind of in their poses in that. Yeah. And here's Clark ready to javelin throw this, squat bar. You're just like, man, this guy. When you notice it on the newspaper, when you see it, you're like, man, that guy. Who's that guy? And when I brought it to art shows, I always had that newspaper for art shows and that, and he's always a fan favorite. They're always like, who's that guy with the weight? Because he's just like he's posing like he's like an Adonis. You know what I mean? Right. He's like, okay, now you can take my picture. I've got this 200 pounds on my shoulder or whatever.
Nutty. So, and you got to know that was a photo shoot for the spread.
Oh, totally. It's totally posed. I mean, it's not like they didn't catch him. There's nobody that would naturally lift a bar like this.
Like that, no.
And he's lifting it.
There's no reason to do that.
In the way he's doing it, he's not even maxing out. He's not even using his other arm.
His leg looks pumped up.
Yeah. He's not even, but he's not even using his other arm. He's like posing as though it's like, he's just like, yeah, check me. I got this bar. Yeah. They're like, Clark, that's a great shot. Hold that pose,
Yeah. Chris said that it's the Amateur Athletic Union.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, buddy.
Chiming in. Appreciate it. Yeah, Chris, thanks for being there.
Chris for the save.
Keeping an eye on us.
Yeah. Chris with the save.
You got to keep an eye on us.
Yeah. So, but I just love that. I've always loved this picture, and like I said, I'm glad to feature it on there. And you can actually see we have the picture right next to him of him launching a weight.
Yeah.
This one looks like that picture looks like he's in the middle of a shot put because there's no chain on the ball.
Yeah, that looks like shot put. Yep.
Yeah, he's just that one. He's just throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, here's it's just a couple paragraphs talking about Clark. So. This is from April 10th, 1936. Bob Murphy. This is from a segment of Bob Murphy's article in the Detroit Times, and this is leading up to Champions Day. So they were featuring all these athletes in the Detroit Times. They were giving little blurbs and little stories about them. So this is Bob Murphy's little ditty. He says, Detroit's great line of champions includes a modern atlas in the person of Clark Haskins, 230-pound man mountain, pride and joy of the Detroit Police Department under whose banner he competes. Haskins for the last 2 years has held the national AAU title for distance in throwing the 56-pound weight. Those who think there is no romance in the business of tossing or lifting weights should talk with this giant copper, who stands slightly over 6 feet and wears a size 17 collar. Haskins won the 56-pound weight throwing title for the state in 1927. He has held it since. As a junior, he won the AAU title at Pittsburgh in 1931. He entered the senior division in 1934 and beat the nation's best. He repeated at Lincoln last year. During work hours, Haskins rides the patrol wagon in the first precinct, and one look at this giant in any rider of the Black Mariah is not likely to cause a lot of trouble. Haskins is married and has one son, Gary, 4 years of age.
I love that. Anybody riding in his paddy wagon's probably not going to be piping up.
Yeah, I know. It's
they call it messing around with this Goliath.
And they call it the Black Mariah. the car he rides in. That's freaking sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's another little. This is just a caption off of a newspaper that talks about him. It says.
Yeah.
Actually, at the bottom of the newspaper where he's thrown, actually, on this photo, I can read it because it's kind of small on screen. It says, Haskins, the mainstay of the Detroit Police track team in the weight events, appears almost certain to shatter the mark of 41 feet 7 inches he set last year in the 16-pound shot event. In practice, he consistently approaches 43 feet. He is expected to garner points for Detroit in the field meet Saturday at the fairgrounds in the shot, caber toss, 56-pound weight throw, and weightlifting events. So he's got that... going for him as well.
You got that going for him.
Yeah, he's got all that going for him. So did you throw the next slide up right there?
Yeah, the sequenced photo. Yeah.
So
you love these.
I love. Yeah, dude, I collected these,
and there was one of him.
Yeah.
So these were called what again?
So these are called Magic Eye photos.
Eye photos.
And there's a specific camera at the end of the second book. I have at the end of the second book, I actually have a picture of the Magic Eye camera. Mm-hmm. They had this. It was a big old thing, and what it was a high speed shutter camera, so it would take like 6 photo bursts.
Which you can do that on your cell phone.
Yeah,
now,
nowadays.
But back then,
back in the day, that
was a thing.
Yeah,
that was major scientific breakthrough.
Yeah, it was a huge thing, and so they would feature it. And they would in the newspaper. They're like, Clark Haskins and Magic Eye, they would hype it, and they're
extra, get Clark Haskins in the Magic Eye.
Well, that's what the headline, the header of the article. It's kind of small to show in the picture. It actually says, Magic Eye reveals form of national 56-pound weight throw champion. It says right on there. He says. Magic Eye reveals form. Like it's like this hype. They're like Magic Eye reveals.
And it really does.
It totally does. You can see him swinging that thing, and he just launches it. I love that picture. It has got him in pure throwing motion. I mean, it's like a little movie. So, anyways, he is. So I have it down here. It says so. I have in 1934, Haskins set the AAU 56-pound weight throw record at 35 feet and 1.5 inches. In 1935, he broke his record with a throw of 36 feet and 6.25 inches. And then here he is with the Magic Eye. So, yeah, this is a guy that and what's great is he's not just a one-trick pony. He doesn't just do the shot put.
Right.
He doesn't do just, he's also in the caber toss, which is the greatest of all sports ever made, is the caber toss.
Right.
So anyways, that's what I'm saying. You get through all of the champions that a city's trying to say, our city, we had a better year than Detroit in 35. Yeah. You get all the way to Clark Haskins, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes out there, you're like, okay, they're like, okay, we've checked every box. Mm-hmm. We've checked every box. We've got through. We have a diver that just beat Dick Degener, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, now what you got? And then they're like, pick your next event, and you're like, we want the caber toss.
We want the caber toss.
We got bringing Clark Haskins. You're like, we want the caber toss. And they're who we got against Clark Haskins in the caber toss, So that's what I'm saying. Who are you gonna put up against Clark Haskins? Somebody
to do it, let alone beat him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's like,
just
good
be able
luck.
So that's what I mean. Every sport, when people go, well, there's not even, they're 33 championships. There's not even really that many sports. And it's I don't know. There seems to be quite a few here that we got chronicled,
There are.
So, yeah. So, This is, I got Clark Haskins at number 5 here, and that's number 5 of I call it the other champions of 35. Yeah. He's number 5, on top of the Tigers, Lions, Red Wings, and in the minor league Olympics. So now we're up to 9 now.
Well, and Garwood and Walter Hagen.
That's one. I have the other champions
those are
numbered.
1 and 2. Okay.
So yeah, so Garwood was number 1.
Right.
Hagen was number 2.
Okay.
And then we went down the list. Eddie Tolan was number 3.
Okay. Right on. Yeah, I was like, I've been diving back into the book and just finding just cool stuff.
There's
just
tons,
cool stuff,
man.
So, but a lot of these events and a lot of what Clark did here was part of the Detroit Police and the track and field through the Detroit Police, and they would do some cool stuff with things that still go on today. Field day, right?
Yeah, field day, and we got the program for. So that was he's a Detroit police officer.
Yeah,
and it just so happens that he's also awesome in this weight throw. But and he's doing again. He was winning. His thing is he's a national champion weight thrower, and so. But what we have right here, I was just totally thrilled to find this when I was doing the book.
Yeah.
This is a program for the 1935 Detroit Police Field Day.
Wow. All
and
right.
I've never seen any other year. I've never seen any other year for sale.
Right.
Just the one from 35. Is that crazy?
That is nutty.
August, it says right on the date on there. Saturday, August 17th, 1935. Right at the time, right about that time, Tigers are headed towards clinching the pennant in 1935. Lions are just about to start playing their season. So Joe Louis is at the peak of his powers. He's a month away from facing Max Baer in his biggest fight of the year. So this is peak Detroit City of Champions Day. I'm I couldn't believe it. I remember buying. I think I got it for between $30 and $50.
Oh, so you bought this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I own it. It's
for
for the next show. I think I'm going to bring it in. I totally forgot. I was going to bring it in for this, but I just wasn't sure how much we were going to get to it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to bring it in.
And then you have the ticket stub too.
Yeah, there's a ticket. This I just found this on eBay just today. I just scanned on there saying Detroit Field Day, and I saw that ticket, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. That's from 34. Kind of gives you an idea. But one of the things I really just noticed today while looking at the game program, if you look close at the image on there, and I saw a couple things about that they do the field day today, Detroit Field Day.
Right.
But it seems like they just restarted it fairly recently because I saw some article talking about they're like our fourth annual Detroit Field Day.
Yeah.
And I looked at the events and it looked like it was way more geared towards kids, they're water balloons and stuff like this. It seemed like it was more geared towards kids. Because I'm going to bring that game program in for the next show. I'm going to bring the images in because when you see the stuff that they were doing back then, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't have the pictures in the book because I just couldn't. I needed the space. There's this thing's already a monster, so I couldn't put all the stuff in the book that I wanted to show at the field day. But we will in the next show because we've got some other Detroit police officers that were champions during this year too.
Yeah.
And so,
what's interesting about this picture to you?
So anyways, if you look at the picture, if you really look close, what the image on the picture itself is a woman who's looking at a picture of a police officer, and she's sad. She's got her head down,
and the kids are hugging her.
Yeah, she's got her hands over her head as though she's crying, and then you've got 2 kids that are hugging her. And they're both staring at the picture. I mean, it's actually pretty friggin' sad, man. Jeez. I mean, they're they're looking at a picture of obviously their father was killed, as a police officer. And so you instantly are conveyed a sense of that's what this is about. It's a benefit association. It says Detroit Police Benefit Association Field Day, and so the money, the money goes towards, fallen officers and their families. I mean, that's what this is all about. And so it was a bit, and so as a result, you talk about a community driven event, community event, this is something that you can go to. You can go to this and in the money you spend, or you talk about going to a good cause, this is going towards benefiting the fallen police officers' families. I mean, and then, so what I want to show in the next episode, besides talking about the other police championships, but was is the images that out of this program, they show the events. And I just mentioned, they're the modern day stuff looks like, kind of kiddie stuff. And what I mean by that, I'm sort of comparing it to what's in this field day, because they give you they take all these like it's like a game it's like a hockey program. You know, they kind of hyping up what you're about to see, and it's crazy what you see. There's all kinds of like, I mean, they've got these police. From what I remember, I haven't even looked at it in a couple of years, but from what I remember, there's this image where I forgot if they're standing on motorcycles or horseback or something, but they're doing some like we'll show it on the next one, but they're doing like it's like they had all kinds of weird stuff going on. They had police pistol shooting, doing all kinds of competitions with like, shooting guns, like sort of like tournaments between the cops, who had the best marksmanship. They had Clark Haskins throwing weights and competing against other people, like maybe, I don't know, maybe people from the crowd or something like this. But they had all these like it was almost like a rodeo or like a carnival or something. I mean, it was a big deal. It was a huge deal. And if you talk about like community spirit, what is better than going to, you're supporting the law enforcement's, family, the family of the fallen who are there, who died serving your community. Yeah. You're there to help them. And besides that, they put on a show. They actually put on a legit show.
Yeah.
And so that's what this event was all about. And we'll dish out a nice heaping of images from this game program, or from this program in the next show. And we'll revisit the idea because it's interesting. You're looking at it, you're like, I can't believe what they're doing. Like it's really interesting.
So what I found a couple of things. I found a little bit about the Detroit Police history and then the Detroit Police Benevolent Association, which I think is similar to this association. It provided death benefits to
the family.
Yeah, to the families.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I say, that's communicated just a single image on this.
I also found a site about the fallen officers from the city of Detroit.
Okay,
and so we'll talk about those too. But there was an interesting. It was a photo story, and it'll be linked in the descriptions below, so you can go. Compliments of the Detroit News. And but a little bit about the history of the Detroit Police. So they were first on patrol in 1865 is when the Detroit Police initially kicked off. I got a photo of like the first batch of boys in blue.
Nice
there. So a 4-member police commission were appointed by the governor. And formed the Detroit Police Department on March 12th, 1861. However, the first 40 uniformed officers did not take to the streets until May 15 of 1865, most likely because of the Civil War.
Sure.
So once the Civil War was wrapping up a little bit, they were actually able to put a police force on the street, 40 strong. May 15th, they first appeared in 1865. So that I thought that was in, and that's a pretty cool photo.
I wonder how much the blue uniforms they wore were like sort of former Civil War uniforms that maybe they were using as like you already have the uniforms on hand. Why not incorporate them, especially if it's like a new force,
right?
Why not? I mean, it's almost like a sort of a like a sort of pseudo military, like protecting. Like maybe they evolved from like doing just just having soldiers, around to morph it and saying, well, now these guys are actually going to be, in charge of keeping the peace.
So I had all these notes spelled out. And now my note.
Damn, you blew it. Now the whole show's
ruined. I know my note page went. But there's a couple of interesting pictures that the first female police officer in the United States in Detroit.
Really?
Yeah. So the first female police officer in the United States. Dang it, I had notes. I swear to Chris. Oh, here it is. All right, so yeah, it's 1893. Marie Owen was the first female police officer in the United States right here in the city of Detroit. 1893, the first female cop. And in the photo story, they have a couple female police officers from 1928
Interesting.
On shooting target practice. And then these two images that I have next are pretty interesting. This is kind of piggybacking or bookending 1935. This one's from 1933, and it's on Belle Isle. and it's the basically the
Yeah,
Detroit
this is what we're going to
mounted-
show.
The line of mounted police.
That's what we're
there.
going to show. They did all kinds of stuff like this. Where I think that's what it was. I think it was because there's one with motorcycles.
August of 33.
Yes.
And this is August of 33, and it was Sergeant Swantek. And I know some Swanteks because I grew up on the east side in the city. And I was going to message Denise and see if they were distant relations of the Swanteks from east side Swanteks.
Why wouldn't
over there.
it be? Yeah.
Could very well be.
Yeah.
But the picture there, and again, if you go to the description there'll be a link to the Detroit News. These all come from the Detroit News archives or the Detroit News photographers.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a
and
great
this
shot.
is it's very cool. The mounted police there,
as we'll see in the next
running
show,
drills on.
We'll see in the next show is that I've got some other stuff where they're doing they had like I say, it was like a kind of like a it was almost kind of like a combination of like a circus or whatever, but they were kind of showing off their skills basically. Yeah. They're showing off the different skills that these different police. I'm sure there was like some comedians and stuff, doing all kinds of different stuff. But I have another great picture out of that program from what I remember with them on horseback and that doing their thing.
Yep. And then, like I said, bookending it, that was 33. In 37, they bought 60 motorcycles, and there's a really great picture of 60 brand new motorcycles. Again on Belle Isle. Right there, so it's kind of the change there, right in the mid 30s, shifting from the horseback to the motorized.
But they're using them all, and here's the thing: I live in Midtown Detroit.
Oh, you still see the horseback?
Yeah, I see them all fairly. Yeah, I hear every once in a while I hear a click. Clock, click, clock. Coming down the street. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And it's a thrill. I run out to my roof. And I look down the street, and there he is. There's a couple Detroit cops, or maybe one or two coming down the street on horseback, and it's still. And I'm sure people out there listening right now have seen periodically seen a policeman on a horseback, and you're like, that is, and they're not riding like a pony.
Sure, no,
they're riding a freaking stallion.
These are those are big dogs, man. Those.
I saw one. Probably within the last 6 months, I've seen a guy walking on the street, man.
Mm-hmm.
And man, like you say, it's like you see some big cop on a friggin' big old stallion. You're like, dude, I'm not messing with that guy. That guy is he's not screwing around. Man.
All right, so what is the touristic cheese ball destination downtown for people to go to
in Detroit?
Yeah, what's the people go?
Man, that's all kinds of
everything.
Stuff
No, but what's the one gathering area?
Is there a certain spot you're trying to recall for me, or are you just
trying to
extract?
Yeah, I'm trying to extract the place from you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Where do they go? Where's the tree in the ice rink?
The tree in the ice rink. Oh, like Campus Marshes?
Campus Marshes.
Yeah.
So in this photo story, there was one photo that refers to 1935, and it's the police information booth in Campus Marshes Park.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Look at
that so again, if you go to that photo story, you'll see the photo of a Detroit police officer in what looks like a phone booth with only barn doors, only halfway up,
and he's isolated in the booth, so you can walk up to him. I'm sure some kid walk up and go, "Excuse me, I'd like an officer. Like, what time?
Information
is it?"
booth, Detroit police.
Mess with the guy, give him the finger and run off or something. The guy's like, "Hey, buddy, screw you."
Ask us. It's the Detroit police. He looks so happy. That's 1935.
Well, I've got another little quick story about this cop. I remember it was shortly after 9/11, the original, the actual event, and I had been to Scotland and back, and I was flying back through. It was within 6 months of 9/11 happening, and I remember I flew over to Scotland and back, and flying at that time was just a whole nother world. Like you're like wondering what the hell's going on. You're like, man, I hope everything's good. But anyways, I remember when I landed in Detroit. And coming back home, and I was walking through the airport and it's sitting out front of the airport terminal. I was walking out, and there's this cop. He's got this. It's it must have been a Harley Davidson. I didn't really look close enough, but this guy's got the biggest motorcycle.
Yeah,
and he's got these big, tall black boots on. And this is the biggest cop I've ever seen. He is chiseled. He's got it's like a big white guy, like you're something like he looks like some like a WWF or WWE wrestler.
Right.
He's
Sergeant
got the stash. Yeah, he's like the Sergeant Slaughter. He's got the stash. He's got the shades, the big old aviators, and he's just leaned up on his bike.
You sure the Village
entrance.
people weren't in town?
Dude, you're not. You wouldn't say that to him if you saw him. You walk out of there, and the thing, and all you're saying is like, "How you doing, officer? I hope you have a great night."
Yes, I will be behaving myself.
I just remember, I was like, dude. After 9/11, they put their biggest, baddest dude at the airport terminal, going, If you're coming to Detroit to screw around, this is what he was basically like an advertisement.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're coming to Detroit to screw around, this is what you got here. These are our people. And I remember I was like, dude, because it's like I say, it's like 9/11. I was like, man, I feel safer now coming back seeing that guy here. Like that guy was like an advertisement. He's just like, yep. He's like, move along, sir. Like, all right, man, I'll see you later.
But another interesting thing that I came across was a website called my notes disappeared on me slightly, but it's a tribute website to fallen officers. I'll get you the acronym, and again, it'll be linked in the description of the videos and of the audio podcast. It'll be linked in there for you, so you can go to those and see them. It's interesting. It's touching. It's moving. It's interesting. It's interesting stuff. It's moving.
Well, the fact that they had an entire benefit association
Officer Down Memorial page is what it is. And what I found on the Officer Down memorial page is that 2 police officers lost their lives in 1935.
Really?
So 1935. There were no in this report. There's no in 1934. There were no police lost in 1934 in Detroit, and this was just Detroit. And it was the last one prior was in 1933, in June of 1933. So from June of 1933 to late in 1935, we didn't lose any police officers.
Does it have the date in 35 when? Because they might, their names might and their faces might be in this, and so if they are, we'll show them on the screen.
Yeah. Oh no, I have their faces.
Do you?
Yep.
Yeah,
so Officer Nelson, pictured here, and again, you can, if you go to that fallen officer memorial page that's linked down below. Officer Wayne W. Nelson, he was struck and killed by a vehicle while investigating an accident on Warren and Greenfield. Right here, we're on Greenfield. Our studio is on Greenfield, so it's just down at Warren. Is probably about 6-7 miles south of us here. So at Warren and Greenfield, we're here right on Greenfield. That's when I saw this today. I was like, oh my God, we're on Greenfield. He was talking to the driver of a car when a third car struck both his patrol car and the vehicle. The female driver was charged with involuntary manslaughter. He served at Detroit Police Department for 11 years and was survived by his wife. He was 37, and again, like I said, he was 11 years on the force, and so that was September 1st.
Well, we're glad we have the occasion to show,
and kind of salute these guys,
salute them, and show his face. It's what this story, it's a beacon that brings back to stuff that may never have ever been seen on TV, on anything again.
So from June of 33 to September.
I'm glad you found that information on
September
him too,
1st, 1935. End of watch, September 1, 1935. So Wayne W. Nelson, police officer in Detroit. Thank you for your service. And then Fredrick Behrend. Fredrick W. Behrend, police officer. He succumbed to a gunshot wound he sustained 9 years earlier.
Oh, my God.
So attempting to stop a robbery on July 9, 1926, Officer Behrend was shot in the head during the incident and taken to Marine Hospital. Doctors were unable to remove the bullets. Although crippled from the wound, Officer Behrend returned to work in a limited capacity. So he went back to work in the main office there.
Holy cow!
But finally succumbed to the wound in 35. So 9 years later.
Jeez, what a war horse, man.
He was So he was 36 years old. He served. Do
you have a picture of him?
I didn't bring his picture up.
Yeah,
Officer Behrend. And then this actually, and we'll look at Officer Behrend. And if you look at this picture, And then we're going to go back to that program in a second. It's frighteningly similar, and it's this year.
Yeah.
So this, I'm a little. So Officer Behrend, cause of death was gunfire. July 6th, 1926 is when he was injured. The offender was sentenced to 10 years. End of watch.
Jeez.
December 18th, 1935. So Officer Behrend and his family, thank you very much for your service.
Yeah,
man. I just thought that was interesting to share about the 1935 years.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad we had that up there, man. Because I say, like, that's one of the great things about this story is that it gives reason to go back and look. Like, again, Clark Haskins is an example of a detail, but then so are these guys here.
If you look at the silhouette of his, and again, people, the audio podcast, but the silhouette of his face and head. And you click to the program, and if you look at the picture, it's a portrait picture, but I mean, even compared to the other guy, to Officer Nelson.
You mean the little small picture she's looking at?
Yeah. The silhouette is reminiscent of him.
Well, maybe there's information in that program about him. If there are, we'll share more.
And these
details.
are the two and this is benefiting the officers that have fallen.
Yeah.
And these are the two guys that fell this year.
Yeah.
I just thought that was
it's very poignant. I'm glad, like I say, I'm glad that they're gone but not forgotten, man.
So,
they're remembered right here on the show. I'm glad we had a chance to feature them a little bit, because
So I thought that, and again the links and the it's fascinating, and again it's so easy to just go down the rabbit hole of things. That's the Officer Down Memorial page, and you can leave a note there with the officers, and it has all the officers in Detroit, 247 in the line of duty deaths in Detroit.
Did you say how many total?
200.
Is that total for all time?
247 is what this memorial page is memorializing.
Yeah.
And it gives the cause.
That's awesome.
Aircraft accident 3.
Holy cow.
And I was like, what? COVID-19 3. Drowned 1. So it's electrocuted 1. So gunfire is 160.
Jeez.
Inadvertent gunfire 12. Heart attack, motorcycle crashed. Interesting. So yeah, it's just that's being a cop. It's
it's a calling.
Not for the weak.
No, it is a calling. It is, man. And like I say, mass respect, man.
All respect. Yeah.
No, it's.
So I just thought these gentlemen were an interesting part of the story of the year as things happened and unfolded in Detroit in 1935.
Absolutely.
This is part of what happened that year, and then so Clark here,
he's a police officer.
He's performing,
too.
And he's a police officer. They're performing and doing stuff at this field day, and he's a celebrity because of this championship, and he's out there raising money for these two guys' families.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting the way it all kind of ties together. So.
Absolutely, and I say that again for like the third time and probably the 50th time on the show. I say that's why I say when you get when there's a that's. Overall, right? Like when I first started this story, the genesis of all of it was merely it was 3 guys, 3 friends sitting around an apartment in Kalamazoo in 2005, and I didn't know what year the Tigers won their first World Series. That's it. My friend we were looking through an old Detroit Tiger media guide. And my friend,
look at that.
It was my friend Kevin Bush's game program, that a Tiger trivia guide. It was a Tiger what was it, like a handbook, it had like all the Tiger facts and figures and history and stuff. And then my other friend Jeremy Hunter, it was he who read the stack, because I was like, what year did they, because we were just going
I want to look more into that.
We were asking a bunch of questions out of it, who was the Tigers leading hitter and most best hits or whatever, a bunch of random questions. You were just and Jeremy, who we call Toad, he was like, he was just looking through, he was just reading facts and figures at random. We're drinking beer and hanging out, whatever, right? And that's when I'm like, what year did the Tigers even win their first championship? And that's when he's like, hold on, it says right here 1935. And he's like, hold on, it says at the bottom of the page that the Lions and Red Wings also won their championships.
Their first championships
well, they didn't say their first. It just said that they also won their championships.
One championship.
And I'm like, what? And I'm like, that. I'm like, I've never heard
down
of
the
that
rabbit
before.
hole you went.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I had a paper to do, and it wasn't like some epiphany moment. I was just like, because, what I learned in Scotland when I studied at University of Edinburgh. He's this teacher I had. He was like, what good does it do you to write a paper on a subject that you already know? He's like, whenever you're seeking to do a project,
right,
for a writing project, he's like, why not study something you have no idea?
Well,
because you're learning something. Why, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm not interested in that. Well, you don't even know because you haven't even looked into it.
Right.
You know, so that was the idea. So that's what I was actually looking at a sports history class at that moment. And I was looking I needed a topic to choose. And I could have done like a paper and like, Ty Cobb, the greatest hitter of all time. Something that's like everybody you hear in every other day of the week. Yeah. And so but that's when he said that, I was like, yeah, that might be kind of cool. I've never heard of anything like that. I was looking for something I did not know.
Right.
And that's what I mean. Like, the Tigers were a reason for me to look into the other two teams. And then once they find out that the three teams all won their first championships, and I was like, that was what came out of the 2-page paper. That was all that came out of it because there was no information anywhere.
Right.
But the fact was, it wasn't just 3 random championships. It was the first for each championship, or for each team. And so that attracted me even further because I'm like, I can't find anything on this. I'm going to use my time for this thesis that I have to do to find out more.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, all of a sudden, there's like Joe Lewis and there's other things starting to open up.
That championship, Dave Page has probably opened the book for you.
But the thing about it is, you say, you can say, oh, it leads you down the rabbit hole. That's definitely one way to look at it. But another way to look at it is that
opening doors.
Is that one thing sort of begets another, and it gives you reason to look into further and further and further. And here we are now, from a trivia guide in 2005, of 3 guys drinking beer and looking at a trivia guide, to here we are now featuring a couple cops that died, back in 1935, who people never even heard of them before, ever again. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it gives reason to that's one of the cool things about history is like the sort of spin-off effect, or the larger the City of Champions story. It gives you a reason to look at to see stuff that you may never have even seen before.
Well, I had another spin-off as I was looking for things. So as I'm trying to find information about Clark Haskins, which is impossible. I couldn't find it.
Well, that's what's crazy is we got some great pictures to show, but if you actually look online, there's nothing.
You're not going to find
nothing.
No. But I came across, while in my search, a couple things popped up, and there's this one very gory headline, and I was like attracted by that, and then I'm reading it, and then I looked, I'm like, oh, wait a second, the headline below it is about Eddie Tolan.
Oh, really?
And
that's what you're saying. Yeah, we got.
So
Eddie
what
Tolan
were the
info.
papers in Detroit at the time?
So you had the Free Press, the Detroit News, and then the Detroit Times. Yeah.
Yep.
Was there another ones?
Yep.
What's the other one?
The Black newspaper.
Okay, yeah, but refresh my memory because I didn't use that.
The Detroit Tribune.
Detroit Tribune.
So I was like, I found a Detroit Tribune popped up for some reason. It had this gory headline. It's a bride-elect burns and dies.
Jeez.
I know, it's like, woo. So that's the main headline on that. And it's looking at these, and this is coming from the Library of Congress. And the whole paper is scanned in to the Library of Congress. I think it comes via Central Michigan to the Library of Congress. But it's in the Library of Congress website is where this came from. It's really interesting because you can zoom in on it and read it. It's just fascinating. And I got drawn into reading about this.
That's how it goes, man. It sucks you into another world, man. You get sucked in. You start reading newspapers.
But this is Eddie Tolan straddles the fence on Olympic issue. Now, Eddie wasn't going to compete in the Olympics. He had just won in the previous Olympics. He was a gold medal winner, right?
Yeah, 32 Olympics.
So
he won
there
a gold
you go.
medal, and then he's coming off of the 1935 sprint championship in Australia.
There's Eddie on the podium, and he won the sprint championship.
That's his sash.
Him running there at the photo finish there at the Olympics. So we talked about that
32.
a couple episodes back. So if you want to check out Eddie Tolan's story, we did a couple episodes on that. But then I came across this, and because we talked about how he didn't get to compete in the 36 Olympics. because, he lost his amateur status because he didn't have a job.
Yeah, so
and he had to make money, and running is what he did, and he ended up making money running and didn't disqualified
Why does
him.
it say Mike is muted? Are we muted
for
right now?
No.
Are you sure?
That's just for the
Okay.
StreamYard, so it doesn't feed
Okay,
back
sorry,
with the second
bro.
camera going.
Sorry. Okay, you do your thing. You know what you're doing. I don't know anything. I just
So-
want to listen to the show later, and I can't hear. We're just letting her nodding and laughing at
Yeah.
in silence. We're good. Sorry, I mean to throw you off. Go ahead.
So no, but Eddie Tolan straddles the fence on the Olympics. So he reflects back on his time in in Germany when he was there, or when he was in the Olympics.
Really?
He was looking back.
So he went to the 36 Olympics.
Well, no, he says he met no German injustice, right? So talking about
so
his
he
experience with international athletes.
So when
right?
he met Germans in 32,
So
and
he-
he is talking about them now. Is
so
that what you're
yeah,
saying?
so this is the out of the
So of course
Detroit
the debate.
Tribune.
Keep in mind the debate here. The reason leading up to the 36 Olympics.
Yeah.
The of course everybody knows that they call it Hitler's Olympics. It was in Berlin.
Yep.
But the big question was it was well known the Nazi policy against Jews at this point.
Right.
They knew it was a well known anti-Semitism was literally state policy at this point, and so of course it's massively. It's
Right.
it's bad. Like it's when you say controversial doesn't go far enough for describing basically they're saying like the whole world needs to not have anything to do with Germany.
So again,
And
this will be linked in the in the description, and this goes to the Library of Congress, and it's an article written by Arthur Randall, and he says Eddie Tolan says he met no German injustice, and this is what Arthur says. Eddie Tolan, in speaking before an anti-Nazi Olympic forum at the downtown WYCA on December 6th, refused to take a stand on the question of Negro athletes competing in German Olympia. If reports that I have heard concerning the German barbarities are true, Tolan said, I am sure that fairness would not prevail and the real spirit of the Olympics would be defeated. However, if the American Olympic Committee has already received word from Germany that no discrimination will be tolerated, then I see nothing to do but to urge the American team to go and win. If the members of the team do meet discrimination, they will have to. And this is a scan of a paper, so it's this is on the fold, and it's hard to the words. They'll have to, I don't know, something to whatever channels they are to take care of it. They'll have to report it. The double winner of the spirits in the last Olympics, based on the conclusion of facts that I had run in Germany in 1932, I was not shown any discrimination, he said. So why should I expect to be treated any differently now? Tolan's attitude is different from that manifested by Jesse Owens. And again, it's very blurred.
The acid paper, the acid congests at the fold. That's why it does that.
And then
because it's all printed on acid paper. If you ever have any historic newspapers, always open them flat so that there's no creases. Wherever the crease is, the acid in the paper.
So, but Jesse
seeks the
Owens
crease.
is reported, and this is reporter is reporting that something was reported. Though Owens is reported to have said, if there is any discrimination against minorities in Germany, then the Olympics must be withdrawn. His track coach, Larry Snyder, white, of Ohio State, and again, this is in a black newspaper, commenting on Owens and critics him severely. And again, there's like pieces of things missing here.
Just power through it, man. That's all you can really do.
Yep.
I know
he
it's
will
tough.
be forgotten. He will be he will find himself at the bottom of the ash can, and he will be a forgotten man.
Talking about Hitler? Is he talking about Hitler? Read that. Could you read that one more time? As best you can, even if it's choppy. It's all
Something
good.
is on top of the world now if he speaks.
He's talking about Hitler. Hitler's
think
on top
so.
of the world now.
Yeah, he will find himself at the bottom of the ash can.
He will find himself at the bottom.
and
Yeah,
a forgotten man.
as a forgotten man. Yeah, because he says, in essence, he's
So-
saying if he doesn't allow this Olympics to go through and he wants to
Yeah.
be at the top, then he's going to have to let these Olympics go through and follow what we're saying as
So,
far as letting everybody
It
participate.
was pretty interesting to find that in there. And then, there was something on the further page of this. There was another comment that I think Eddie made. Where is it?
Well, again, the main controversy was that you're basically legitimizing Hitler by going over and having the Olympics, despite the fact that it's become German state policy to exclude Jews from all civic actions.
Sure.
So that was the thing, was they're like, we're legitimizing Hitler by the world showing up on his doorstep to participate in his propaganda thing. That was the controversy.
And there's this one, the Sports Spot. This is on page 6 of the same publication. The Sports Spot by The Spectator, who is bylined by, and it said the argument over the United States participating in the 36 Olympics scheduled in Germany has split American Athletic Union asunder. But then it goes on to quote Eddie Tolan again from that meeting. And I like this. Eddie said, Eddie cued properly at the YWCA last Friday night and said what he could, that the Americans ought to first see that their own shirts were free of mud before they begin wiping off their neighbors.
Dang, Eddie. Eddie is making a statement with that one. And he's right.
America should make sure their own shirt is free of mud before they start wiping off their neighbors.
Damn, Eddie.
Meaning...
Yeah, it's not exactly great here.
How about, it's, you want to talk about racism.
Pull the beam out of your own before you look for the toothpick and some. I mean, not to say that's a toothpick, that's kind of minimalizing it, but I'm just saying, like, sort out your own issues
this was,
before comment on the others.
And again, Detroit Tribune, December 14th, 1935. So I thought that was interesting. I found Eddie talking about
Very
this.
Interesting.
Talking about it in 1935.
You say December 13th?
December 14th, 1935.
I think that's the day the Lions won their first championship. What's that? No, maybe it was the 24th.
Yeah.
So
December 14th.
I think it was.
So that's.
I think it was the 24th. No, because the 24th is Christmas Eve. Hold on, now I gotta know the Detroit Lions' first championship. I'm pretty sure it was. I got a time.
So yeah, that was the Detroit police pictures came from the Detroit News, a photo story there that'll be linked in, and then the Library of Congress has these old issues of the Detroit Tribune scanned in, and there was a letter from Joe Louis. I think it was in another issue. I was looking at another issue with a great murder mystery is solved, another big headline about murder, and this one had a letter from Joe Louis to his fan club, I think, if I'm not mistaken. In this one, it was pretty cool. This one this one was on my birthday, July 25 of 19. Oh, this one, July 25, 1936.
So December 15th.
Okay.
It's nice to be able to. It's like
so it's the day before.
I was gonna Google it, but I'm like, dude, I got my own book in front of me.
Yeah, you get you.
I can find the Lions' date of their championship in my book.
The definitive source might be there.
I was like, I'm gonna Google. I'm like, hold on a second.
Really close.
Sitting right in front of me is a 500-page book with every
Google
date
comes back and says, "Look in your own damn book, Charles."
Say, hold on a second. I got an epiphany. Why not look in my own book, which is just every city champions information of all time? That's a good. Screw Google. Google ain't got nothing on me, man.
But
I just forgot the date though. That's kind of that sucked because that's usually burned into my brain. So yeah, the day before the Lions' first championship, he said that. Interesting. I like to put stuff into context like that.
Yeah, and that's So I was pretty fine. All right, so there was a good luck club, Joe Louis Good Luck Club. So they started a Joe Louis Good Luck Club.
It's a solid club, solid name for a club.
Yeah, and the Tribune had something to do with it.
There's no mistake about what it's all about.
That is it. But then Joe sends them a letter. Saying, Joe Louis Good Luck Club. Gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to you for the interest and confidence you have shown in me through establishing the Joe Louis Club, a club organized on behalf of clean sportsmanship. Your confidence in my ability to eventually become heavyweight champion, and this is 36, and he's like, I'm not champion
What
yet,
was the date?
But thank you guys. July 25, 36.
Okay, all right.
This letter was July 16. He sent this letter in July 16 of 36. Your confidence in my ability to eventually become world heavyweight boxing champion encourages me to live up to your expectations.
Dang, Joe.
It's my intention to do everything in my power to show the world that your confidence in me is not misplaced. Please call on me if I may be any service to you in the activities of the Joe Louis Good Luck Club. Very sincerely yours, Joe Louis.
I hate to say this, but I have a feeling that there was somebody else involved with writing that. Like that letter sounds a little bit like formulaic, like it was like he maybe he had like I don't.
Well,
know.
it's
I'm sure his spirit was behind
RJC. There's like some initials down there. It's probably a press person or something.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
like it's like they're like Joe's. You know, like Joe's got a stack of letters they're sending out.
But
to these
right
things.
next
Joe's
to it,
signing it.
right next to it is I want to send this in. I'm going to clip this out.
I'm just saying it sounds a little bit. I'm just saying it sounds.
You can
a little
join the club.
Formulaic.
Here's how you join the club.
Do I want to join?
I'm a loyal. You have to take the pledge.
Hit me
right?
with it. I'm going to play it pledge right now.
I'm a loyal Joe Louis fan and want to join with other members of your club in wishing him good luck in his future fights. I admire Joe Louis.
You have to stop and let me take the pledge. Are you pledging first?
Just go, I do.
Oh, okay, I do.
All right, fair play. I admire Joe Louis as a clean sportsman and confident in his ability to become world boxing champion in the near future.
I do.
I enclose herewith 12 cents.
Damn, hit me with it.
In stamps, 10 cents at
I got to pay for it to join?
Yeah.
Dang.
12 cents in stamps or 10 cents in person at the Detroit Tribune office. Please send me my Joe Louis lucky coin and membership card for the Joe Louis Good Luck Club. It shall be entitled to participate.
Damn, I want one of those coins.
But you know what? That's probably a little. I wonder if there's any of those kicking around. That's a little piece of like memorabilia. The Good Luck Club coin.
I want a Joe Louis Good Luck Club coin.
Yeah,
dude. I want to freaking. I'll take my money. Take my 12 cents now.
I know. You got
take my money.
You got to send it in SNH green stamps or something. Apparently, I don't know.
Oh, you got to send it in stamps.
Yeah, you got to. Well, if you were mailing it in, you
got
to send stamps.
Oh, so they can mail it back to you with the stamps you send. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's what do they call that? A self-addressed stamped envelope.
Yeah.
You got to send that in, and then they send you back the metal with 12 cents.
Yeah,
or is it 12 cents in postage?
If you go, I don't know. If you go into the office, you got to pay 10 cents for it.
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah, it's probably only 2 cents to mail it back.
You don't think they can have the extra 2 cents? I want that freaking metal, dude.
12 cents. I'm in.
You think? I'm all over that for that.
I'll enclose 3 cents for membership card only.
I want the card and the coin.
I know.
That's a steal. And even if it's at inflated prices, which that 12 cents probably like $50 now.
Yeah, I thought that was.
I'm saying that's a deal. Take my money. Yeah. Here's the pledge.
And the coin gets you discounts at merchants throughout the community.
I want that coin.
I know.
Damn, I'm all about the pledge.
All right. So 1935, there's so many facets to the things.
Oh, dude, I'm saying it goes.
That were going on.
It goes. When I was doing these books, I had to self-impose borders. And the other thing, like when you're like reading that newspaper, it reminded me of when I was in the library, because you're reading these newspapers. Yeah. And there's so much cool stuff. There's so many things. Like one of the things that stands out is this like story that went on for a couple weeks, and it was talking about the like gold in Michigan, like how to pan, like where it is, to pan for it. And this, I'm reading the newspaper from 35. I'm going, what if I discovered something else?
I'm gonna go get some gold.
Yeah, like what if nobody sought this gold since 19? I still have the article somewhere because I printed that out. But the thing about it is, you're like, there's only so many rabbit holes you can go down, because you're like, I'm here to focus on the 35 City of Champions, you know? So you're like going off in these different, but there's so many cool things. You come across so many articles and you're like, oh, no way, that's cool. And you're like reading about it, and then you're just like, I can't I can't keep going down rabbit holes, man. You got to focus. And that's one of the tough things. And the other thing, too, is that especially at the time, I was on some limited funding. You know what I mean? I was financing it all myself. And there's like I said, I was going through like $20 a day in printing costs to print the newspapers.
Yeah.
And it's like every time it's a quarter a page. So every time you're printing off, random tangent newspaper stories, you're dropping $1 or $2 out of a $20 budget. So it was tough, that's what I mean. Like it's you can, just kind of like YouTube where you just go down rabbit holes of just random interesting stuff that you come across. It's no different when you're just, every day reading newspapers, but you can, this like this, like there's so many different tangents you can go off on when it comes to this stuff, man.
All right. There was, I'm trying to share the picture. Chris sent me a link to the Joe Louis Good Luck.
Hit us with it. Let me see it.
I think it's there. So there
no
it is.
way.
There's the coin.
Can you zoom in at all? Hold on. I got to take my earphones out so I can see it closer.
Hang on. Let me blow this up. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's if you're looking at it on one side, it's just like Joe Louis's head in a profile. And on the reverse, there's a full body shot head to toe.
With Joe boxing.
And and around
that
the edge, it says
awesome.
Official Joe Louis Lucky Coin. There's a wishbone, his signature, and I don't know what's over here. This could be a lucky rabbit's foot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so that's I'm not positive.
Oh, it's got the wishbone in the, it's got to be a rabbit's foot.
There's like something over here. If that's a wishbone, I'm going to guess that.
Yeah,
if
it's
it's
a
lucky,
rabbit's foot.
I'm going to guess that's a rabbit's foot. So,
dude, it's got a wishbone on the coin. That thing is so awesome, man.
Yeah. So they're selling for like $65 to $100.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder what it's made of. Did it say all copper, maybe?
No,
Something like that.
I don't know.
That's awesome. Good find, Chris. Way to freaking hit us with it, man. Live.
Yeah.
Freaking hit us with it live, man.
Yeah. So anyway, that was we got a little off track, but again, it's how the story goes and how we went from Eddie Tolan to Willis Ward and then the Black and Blue movie.
Yeah, we're covering this story this year and all that stuff that surrounds it. I don't think the listeners mind. In fact, Chris is engaged. Chris is hitting us with the Joe Louis Lucky Coin, man.
But more to come. There's more champions to talk about.
Yeah, there's
a whole lot more. I can't wait to get to the junior the Olympics.
Oh,
the Olympians.
Yeah, what the Olympics?
The hockey teams.
Oh, yeah,
the hockey teams.
We talked about it in the Red Wings section, but we'll get back to them.
Yeah.
We may do a long form history of the Tigers too. We talks. I got these. I'm trying to get these. I had a lady I met years ago who was offering me these 1930s scrapbooks, which are just like
would love to get our hands on those.
I cannot.
For sure. I
would love to do a series of shows on these scrapbooks. They're amazing.
There's a couple different coins out there, but anyway, we'll.
I want to get. There's another 1936 Olympian we're coming up to in a few shows named Joanna DeTuscan. And she was a fencing champion.
Cool.
In 1935, and she went to the 36 Olympics. And there's a fantastic story that we're going to read about her.
Righto. All right, so it's we'll do more. Just the website, DetroitCityOfChampions.com, and Facebook, YouTube for videos, and any podcast outlet wherever you're listening. Thank you for taking the time. Leave a comment, put a little thumbs up, collect it, follow. All those things are greatly appreciated. And thanks for spending time with us. It's Detroit City of Champions.